and out and was walking all over the place, which seems impunity. He was taking a backpack in. He came in with a bike. He came in and went out. He used a rangefinder. He brought in a small ladder, 5-foot ladder. He brought in a bigger ladder. I mean, and people are seeing him and pointing to him and in and out. And he's up on top of the building that is the building, the headquarters for the police at the time. They don't hear him. They don't see him. They had the police or security, some security, it's already been told now that the window of the building behind where Crooks was took video and footage and snapshots of Crooks climbing up this roof, crawling across the roof, I'll have to say in shorts, a 20-year-old man in shorts on a very hot day on a metal roof. Yeah, there's a whole lot of things wrong with this. The body cam footage shows no brass around where he was at the time. In other words, his gun was never really fired. They then threw brass. Later, you see brass, pictures of brass. And it changes how much you see depending on what picture you see. Plus, that's
when you say brass, Genie, you're talking about like the shells, the metal, yes, the sort of shells. Okay, yeah.
Yes, the generic term for shells that aren't like a shotgun where you have kind of a cardboard wrap thing.
Yeah.
So the AR-15 red dot that he's using, Christopher Wray in the floor of Congress testified it had a collapsible stock. The AR-15 red dot has a removable stock, not a collapsible stock. There's a huge difference. But even still, the stock is at the most of a foot long, let's say, 6 inches usually, maybe 4, so depending on what stock.
And that's the
part that goes up against your shoulder.
Okay, the stock. Okay.
So, on the footage, while behind Trump there's a camera rolling, you can see Crooks come up on the roof and run back and forth across the roof on the camera, like if Trump had not been paying attention to the audience, he'd have seen this guy. It's blatantly obvious. You can see him running back and forth from the stage. It's like people were pointing and saying, because they can see him, he's not literally just crawling. He's running back and forth up there. It's insane how visible he is. Then he lays down and he starts to line up the shot, and he's climbing up and he's lining it up and climbing up and lining up. What he's doing is trying to get to where he can see over the eave of the roof. How far down can he be, but see over to take the shot? He never got high enough. Because if he is over his body length, let's say he's 5.5 feet tall, and it looks to me, based on his body length, he's about 6 feet down from the eave of the roof. 4 inches rise per foot, that's 24 inches below the eve of the roof. If you're up on your elbows, to get and aim a shot 2 feet up is extremely uncomfortable with a sniper's high-powered rifle. An AR-15. That is not easy. He would have, to me, the best way to do that, how I would do that, and how most snipers would do it, is to come up and have a stand, or to come up on your knee with a stand. That would be the best way. There's a lot of things to compensate. There's a flag flying behind Trump that gives you wind speed. At that direction, that's the only thing you pretty much have to compensate for wind speed. The problem with a headshot, too, that's stupid. Because which is exactly what happened. A microsecond head movement and you miss the shot. The person turns their head and it makes the angle so that it grazes the ear, for example. But the problem is that the AR-15 kicks the brass to the right as it ejects the brass as you take the shot. Okay? And he is right-handed, and he has the rifle as he's sighting over and over as he's going up the roof in his right shoulder. He's not left-handed, he's right-handed. So the gun, when he's dead, they show the gun, the AR-15, supposedly AR-15 that he used, is, if you look, there's squares. He's lying in these long runners where they have ridges in between the long metal runner pieces. He's lying dead in one. And the gun is quite a few runners away. So if you figure the length of the runners, that gun is like, 10 feet away from him at least, to his left. So if you're laying on your stomach, somebody shoots you, and you collapse down, the gun's either under you or your arms kick it out, and 99.999% of the time it'll go to your right. It's not going to go whipping over your head and body to the left and wind up 10 feet away. And it's never been fired. You check the rifling. Why have we not heard of this? What is the rifling? In other words, what is the scoring of the bullets that hit the crane and other things? And Corey, that should be right there, compared to the rifling when you shoot that AR-15 on the roof of the building. What is the barrel of the gun? What kind of scoring does it do on the bullet? You could shoot it and find out. This is all things that are easy. They also say that he had no ID on him. He had a explosive remote control device. He had a van with explosives in it 10 miles away. Let me get this straight. This skinny young guy is running back and forth 10 miles over and over, gets the rainfighter, takes that back, comes back and gets a backpack, comes back and gets a ladder, comes back. I'm like, what is he running, 40, 50 miles in a day? I mean, this guy, look at him, there's no way. Then he's an expert in offshore investments. They say he has 3 offshore accounts. He's an expert marksman. He knows demolitions to a medium-ish degree. It's not extremely complicated stuff, but he's got a grunge of munitions in this white panel van that was seen parked underneath the water tower earlier, and it's then 10 miles away. And he was seen, he has a drone, and he's flying a drone around. All of this, nobody's paying attention. People are telling the police, they're just disregarding it. The guy's looking out the window, taking pictures of him climbing out, sending them off, video, all of this, and nobody's doing anything. They have a standout. The guys on the snipers behind Trump have him in their sights because they're higher than him and they're looking down, and they don't do anything. They knew that was happening before Trump went out on stage. They don't stop him. So there's also now 37 eyewitnesses that said there were shots fired from the water tower that's in that same angle, a little further away. And also now it comes out that Thomas Crooks was shot in the back of the head from the snipers behind Trump on the stage. He got a U-turn bullet. What did it do? Go over him and did a 180-degree turn and came into the back. It's like the Kennedy assassination. All over, magic bullets. No, there was another sniper a quarter of a mile away on top of a gym. And this, to me, is very likely alliance. The alliance knew and let this go. And the level of trust that Trump must have in all of this plan is off the chart, because you're talking somebody's going to hit your ear, the tip of your ear, not even into the ear or rip half your ear off. It just glazes the top of the ear from a quarter mile away. Now you're talking a tough shot. I mean, it's not the most advanced shot ever made. One guy in Ukraine shot a Russian from 2 miles out. That is phenomenal, because at a quarter mile away to 2 miles away, now you not only have to counter for wind speed, you have to counter for the Coriolis effect due to the spin of the Earth based on the latitude you're out and what amount of Coriolis effect and how much the angular velocity is at your latitude. You have to know all of that. Plus, you got to know the direction you're shooting. Because as the Earth is turning, the horizon, if you're, for example, you're shooting due west from north, you're exactly shooting 90 degrees out from the pole, the North Pole. The Earth is turning and dropping away from the bullet. So once the bullet leaves the rifle, which is anchored to the Earth, it's in the air. The air is constantly moving because of that. That's why you have wind. So now the bullet is moving and it's no longer attached to the Earth. So the Earth is falling away from it. And then the distance, the Earth is curving away from it on top of it. If you're shooting towards the way the sun rises, now the Earth is rising. So if you were shooting to the west, you would do all the other effects. And if you don't calculate for the curvature of the Earth plus the turning of the Earth, the bullet will go high. If you're slightly, a little further than 90 degrees from the due north, then it'll go high and to the right. I mean, you are talking an amazing marksman to pull these shots off and to get Crooks to nick Trump's ear. And then when the guy on the water tower, which I think is Violets, it's an Antifa guy, he stepped out and he starts to line up a shot. And apparently, just as he was getting ready to squeeze the shot, the guy on the gym hit him in in the body, which is where you take the shot to kill somebody. You do a shot at the very top of the body in the neck, like Kennedy, because it doesn't matter how they turn their head, and you've got massive arteries and their person will die real quick. And so this guy on the water tower, it's why you see Kennedy, it looks like his hands are up around his neck. People have said he's trying to clog the neck hole. I think because he was wearing a brace because he was dying from Addison's disease, he was trying to pull the brace up around his neck and pull it up against the hole. That's much a better way than trying to jam your hand in. So in this case, this guy on the water tower was hit by the sniper in the gym, dropped to a knee, and realized somebody's got him lined up from behind him. He knows where the shot, he has a vest on, he stands up, gets on a zip line, zips down, and gets picked up by a black SUV that's being run by leased by the FBI from the Department of Agriculture. I mean, the connections on this thing, offshore accounts and all kinds of things. And then it seems that Crooks has a connection to somebody that's doing constant runs in and out of DC. All of this information, this guy's connected. Some guy, it's like, again, like John Wilkes Booth, or, with Lincoln, or like with Kennedy, it's the same. You have these patsies set up all the time. People, shooting with a carbine rifle on Kennedy from way up in, no freaking way. You have all these things that don't match up and can't work. So there's three shooters primary. There's the guy on the water tower who got two shots. Probably the shot, I don't know, because we don't have the information. Where did the bullet in Corey come from? What angle? What rifle does it match? Does it match Corey's bullet match the one from Crook's rifle? And was that rifle the one that was on the roof? And then the guy that was on the water tower, do we have that rifle? Do we have any shelling or cartridge or anything from that rifle? Does it match that? Or how about the guy on the roof of the gym a quarter mile away? So I have some information and some answers, but it's like the Kennedy assassination. It's going to be hard to ever put it all together. The best one I've seen on the Kennedy assassination is a rich man. I think it's called a rich man's trick. And the guy that took the shot on Kennedy was in the sewer. And you can see the policeman pull up his bike and has trouble fumbling with it because there's a lot of things going on. And he looks down.
17-year-old, wasn't he?
Yeah, a policeman, when that shot hit Kennedy, would be looking at Kennedy. Plus, the bullet looks like it explodes. There's an explosion on Kennedy's head on the right side. That could be one of two things. An explosive bullet, which is possible. I think that's the most likely. It does the most damage. It means you're going to really kill the person with one shot if you get them. Or a squib. And people are saying a squib, but I don't think it's a squib. And there's a lot of reasons, even including the person that put this movie out saying that it's a squib and going into the technology and showing Jacqueline Onassis, Jackie, retrieving something, and there's no blood all over the place. Well, he's wearing a vest, a support for his Atkinson's problem. And it takes a moment for the blood to start to go. If he got that neck wound covered really quick, the blood from a neck wound would be squirting 10 feet, yes. But if he gets that vest up around there, then it's going into the body vest, and any shots in the body won't go in, just like Trump has a vest on. And you can see a tear in the vest where a bullet hit him in the chest, probably from violence. That's probably from violence. I'm just saying probably based on my best logic with the information I have. So we do the same thing.
The shot that hit Trump's body as well.
Yeah, there's a tear in his suit on the right side around, I think I would say right below the 10th rib, somewhere around the 10th rib.
Oh, yeah, you see that when he gets up and does the fist hunt, you can see his jackets. Yeah, okay.
People are saying, because he said his hands were bloody and all over. If you're just been grazed by a bullet, a high-speed bullet, and you've been tackled by the Secret Service, and then you come up, you've got your shoes are off and you're didn't want to be taken off stage. I mean, they said he said they hit him so hard they knocked his shoes off, and that's pretty hard because he puts his shoes on tight. I don't know if they took his shoes off or that's true.
Yeah, I wondered what that seems to be coded to me. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but that I was like, because you heard him say it. Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes. I was like,
you got to realize you're in what is called black zone. Most people in black zone, your heart rate's up, your adrenaline is through the ceiling. You feel your hands are wet. Of course, you're sweating like mad, and people are sweating like mad on top of you. You're piled with other people. You may be seeing red. You actually will sometimes see red, and you will think the wetness on your hands is blood. Okay, so maybe that's what it is, or maybe he has lines. We don't know. And they knew this was coming. It's, I think, fairly obvious at this point, because then he stands up and he pumps his fist 3 times in black zone. I mean, and all that adrenaline and everything, and then he's being led off stage, and you can see he's kind of wobbly. Who wouldn't be? But at the same time, I take that picture, it's iconic as heck. It looks like a 180-degree rotation from right to left of the picture of the taking of Okinawa in World War II, with the flag behind him look like it's going through his hand, and then the service below him. It's an iconic hero picture, and you can see the mass media explode. This is a hero. I know a hero when I see it, and I don't care who else is running. I'm voting for him. It made it almost absolute he will get in. So, just to get in the way of other attempts that were supposed to be coming. If this one didn't work, there's information saying that they were going to blow him up and blame it on Iran, and blow Biden up and blame it on Russia, and go to war with both. And that would be World War III. They're still trying to pump up the war in the Middle East and Iran. They're still trying to, now they're saying Israel is thinking about doing a preemptive strike on Iran, because Iran's going to do a retaliatory strike. Okay, they're retaliating against what you did, and you think they're going to do a retaliatory strike. They retaliated for what you did the first time with hitting their embassy, and then you retaliated for that, and now you're going to preempt their retaliatories. I mean, that is pretty obvious. Netanyahu is wanting World War III, and that was written and down as part of the plan to get the New World Order by Albert Pike after the Civil War. He wrote World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Cambodia, Desert Storm, Korea, and World War III, starting as a conflict in the Middle East and conflagrating out to the entire world, to every country on Earth, and massive nuclear devastation. He didn't know about nuclear, but worldwide devastation, to the point that the oligarchs, the Illuminati would take over, the Olympians as they call themselves, and they would have their New World Order. With Ukraine, they've already said the New World Order is dead, so they are relegated to pursuing this now, because Ukraine was supposed to be the start of getting everything in position, and they massively underjudged Russia's ability to expand their production and their men in arms so fast. In a matter of a year or two, they have learned so much so quick and expanded their production, because they built their military industrial complex based on goals instead of profit, like the West has done. They're profit oriented instead of goal oriented, and it's state owned instead of a bunch of huge corporations that then dictate who gets into office, and they work for the military industrial complex because that's who got them into office. So, that's why they're going after Trump. They're going to go after Biden. Now they replaced Biden with Kamala and this the Mr. Waltz guy. The walls are coming in on us now, so to speak. And the mainstream media sits there and puts all this baloney out that she's so quickly ahead of Trump. Of course, we know that's not true. They manipulate the polls. Just like with 2020, they manipulate the polling, they manipulate the media on the polling, they manipulate the voting itself, they do all of this. And, we are still trying to get the truth on what happened in 2020 in this country, but they are going into Venezuela and saying Maduro did not win. They did a poll and he did not win. And it's this other guy, I think his name is Rodriguez. Oh, we know the truth in a foreign country, but we don't know it in our own. And we know it like 8 days. Yeah, sure. Why do they not want Maduro? And look at the countries that recognize Maduro as president and the countries that did not. The Five Eyes, NATO, and EU do not recognize it. Everybody in BRICS and everybody wanting in BRICS recognized it. What does that tell you? He wants, and he has already put in petition for Venezuela to go into BRICS. What does that mean? The largest oil supply on earth. That's the largest oil. Of course, the world order guys want that, and they'll go in and steal it. But the BRICS countries, they don't do that. Like Burkina Faso, Russia's building a nuclear reactor for them to bring up their economy so they can supply power to the surrounding countries to bring up their economies. You've got 27 known countries. It's actually 50 countries in BRICS now. And you've got well more than that waiting to go in October. And then come October, and the countries wanting to be on the list to come in October is growing. That, you know, they're limiting it because they're trying to get their own internet system, their own currency, and a parliament for BRICS into place by October, all by October. And if they can get 100 countries in BRICS and all of that put in place by October, they're going to do Operation Sandman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
in the U.S. bill, the world hegemony of the Five Eyes and NATO. It ends it all because they will sell off all of their assets in all of those NATO, EU, and Five Eyes countries. And they'll divest themselves of the US dollar. The Saudis have already done that. If the Saudis have already done that, and that's more money already with the Saudis, just the Saudis doing it, and the oligarchs of Saudi Arabia doing it, then that money transfer of the interest on the $300 billion that they seized and froze. They froze it. They said they freeze and seize. And then they use the interest for the loan to Ukraine, which of course they've already defaulted on the loan because they don't have an economy anymore. They're already looking at how do they mobilize everybody, male and female, to the age of 18 and continue any economy at all. They're trying to see if they can put some kind of clause in the Constitution that if you have a certain job, you cannot have to be drafted. So, you know, because they're losing 2,000 men a day now, every single day. And then they do an incursion now into Russia, and they're losing those people like crazy. I mean, those people should have, if you're common sense and you know the art of war, you shore up the 6 advances the Russians are making, the 6 fronts they have in eastern Ukraine now. Yeah, they got a few F-16s that are patrolling the air, supposedly, in western Ukraine from Romania. They can't be in Ukraine because they've blown up the runways. So they fly from Romania into western Ukraine. If they fly towards Russia, Russia will do everything to take those down because those are nuclear-capable platforms. If they get into Russia, that could be World War III because they're nuclear-capable platform. And the same thing, we have the head of the, I think it's the Foreign Service or something, meeting with the U.S.'s just before Putin did his speech at Stalingrad, I believe it was, where he was, talking along with that head, and he met with the U.S.'s, can't remember the name of the black guy's name, that's the U.S. head of, my brain's blank. I'm looking at going to the dentist and getting my tooth taken care of. My mind's not really focused here, sorry. But anyway, it turns out there was an assassination attempt. Ukraine, their secret service was going to take Putin out. Well, that's why they went and warned the U.S. to tell Ukraine not to do it, because it's in their constitution. Whoever kills their lead of their governments and, different posts of the Politburo, they will use nuclear weapons on them. That's also World War III. So we are literally worse than the time of the Cuba incident during time of Kennedy, where they put nukes in Cuba. And by the way, they did put nukes in Cuba again. There were submarines, Russian submarines, carrying nuclear missiles in Cuba. Okay? So people don't pay attention and don't think very well and don't pay attention to. We've been desensitized by the mainstream media. They keep saying, oh, this war with Iran, and Russia's already said they're arming all of our enemies against us like we have been doing for decades against them, all the way up to their border. We have put, all kinds of weapons into Germany and into, you're talking things in Baltic states and Ukraine. We are getting ready to give Ukraine nukes. That's on their border. So they are now doing like in kind. So this is where we now sit. Thank you, Tom. Go ahead.
Brilliant, Jane. Thank you. It's interesting you mentioned, I knew what you were going to say when you said about Operation Sandman. So I just found out about that this week. I'd looked into Sandman before ages ago, but I didn't realize about the Operation Sandman and what it was. And then the President Trump video back in, I'm not sure if it was pre-COVID or the year of COVID, but he comes in to the White House and they talk about number 42, the batsman, the baseball player, Mario Rivera, if I've said his name correctly. Number 42, and he's known as the Sandman because he puts them to sleep. He's the best. I can't remember the term in baseball. I'm not a baseball player, but President Trump explains what it is. But they put Metallica on, and I think it's a great anthem, the Metallica one. There's a great one where they're in Moscow with Metallica, but then also in Back to the Future, there's the group called the Four Aces, which comes to 121, which comes to the Trump 121, Revelation, Second Coming 121. And they're playing Mr. Sandman. And Martin McFly is going back. He's in time, back in 1955, and they're playing Mr. Sandman. So you've got Mr. Sandman, you've got Enter Sandman. President Trump's made reference to it, and Operation Sandman. And it's like, okay. When you say it's going to happen in October, do they have a loose date? I'm wondering if it will happen or it has to happen by October 17th. Is there any date that they've put out for that?
I think the date's October 7th. It was Lloyd Austin. Now the guy, when I'm not talking, it comes into mind because I'm having to think of where I'm going. So it's Lloyd Austin. That is the...
Lloyd Austin, okay. It's not Steve Austin, not like Bionic Man, but Lloyd Austin, okay.
Secretary of Defense. For the
United States. October 7th, is that what you said?
I think the date is October 7th for the next BRICS meeting.
Okay, so that's a year on from Hamas then, isn't it?
The year of what?
That would be a year on from the Hamas,
yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
That didn't cross my mind. Good point.
And when you're saying about... because I've been thinking that I think they're going to push it all to the wire that there'll be a nuclear event. And I've been saying to people that we'll realize it's not quite what it is, but it will push everyone to the wire. I've even said maybe it will be a fake nuclear event, but we'll see what happens. And I was thinking about the Olympics, and you said they call themselves Olympians, just as I was thinking that when you were talking about Olympians. And obviously that's on right now. I've heard people say that it's a sign. Is it a call sign? Not a call sign. I'm maybe not using the right terminology, but Olympic is also a name for kind of like a go signal or everything's clear, like military stuff. I might be misunderstanding what the person said about that, but Usain Bolt, the sprinter. So I met Usain Bolt in 2012 at an Olympic dinner in London, about 3 weeks after the Olympics had finished. I met him briefly, got a picture with him. He's very charismatic, but I think the optics have been showing that he's been not on the good side of things, because just the optics around him with things in COVID. But when President Trump did a video with his team, Jared Kushner was there. It was the second Abraham Accords video. And it's exactly 17 minutes long. And so when you talked about the alliance with the shooting allowing that to happen, concur with that because I've had thoughts about that. But this video, you can look it up. The audience can look it up. It's in the summer of 2020, and it's the second Abraham Accords video from what I can gather. And it's 17 minutes long. President Trump's doing his thing, talking about everything. And then there's a whole bunch of guys. And there's one guy with kind of fairish hair with glasses. And he steps forward, and it's brilliantly alliance choreographed, higher dimensional choreography. He walks forward and he says on 9.58 seconds, he says, Iran, meaning Iran, you know, just the accent, the way he's pronounced it. But I knew, and I'd done codes that week, it come to me that Usain Bolt he ran the world record for the 100 meters on 9.58 seconds. 9.58 seconds, I ran the fastest man. See, even this just confirmed it. My cold laser wristwatch just confirmed it, just with the beep there. So there's a connection there, and I've done the numbers on 9.58. So if you do 9, which is 9, point is 74, which is nuclear, which is gematria, which is Messiah, which is Jesus, which is DeLorean, English, London, simple. It's many things. It's also bad ones, but they're the good and neutral ones. And then if you do 5.8, so if you do 9.58, 5.8 is star, it's a bunker, it's just Sarah, but you end altogether comes to 141. 141 comes to quantum leap, it comes to reincarnation, it comes to Tom Bushnell, one of the ways to say my name. But I'm thinking, and I've felt for a long time, that something about this 9.58 is significant. It's even shown in the film Tenet when they're doing the reversal of the blue team and the red team. One's coming in a forward direction in time, the other one's coming backwards. They also show the wristwatch, and it shows at 9.58. And I was like, that's the code that President Trump's team have said about Iran. So I do feel it's Iran versus Israel. And even Usain Bolt. So Usain comes to 64, which comes to Israel. And then Bolt is 49, which is Flash. Sorry, not Flash, which is yes. So yes, Israel. But that's 113, which is Operation, which is also Universe, which is also Trumpet. But I feel that they're going to push it. And I guess my question to you, Gene, if you've got any comments on 9.58, but I also feel that whatever is coming, I think it will be a crescendo that will meet us, and we'll get to the point of the election. Whether an election takes place or not is kind of, but that marker in the sand of remember the 5th of November. It's the 310th day of the year. Malachi 3:10. There's Yuma 3:10. President Trump kept going to Yuma. They keep showing the film Yuma 3:10. But I'm wondering whether it's a nuclear event that is shown not to be real, and then we get disclosure, or if somehow, as in Back to the Future, nuclear is DeLorean 74, DeLorean 74, nuclear 74, Jesus 74. Would this nuclear event push us into full disclosure? Full disclosure is 176, which is Back to the Future, which is November the 5th. And it's also level playing field. But I wonder, this event, whether we'll just do it kind of, it's us in this reality now, and we just get to see the disclosure, the military comes out and everything else. Or do we see some kind of event that pushes using nuclear, but allows for a timeline to change? And I wonder if nuclear could be used to actually literally change the timeline and the reality of this world, this realm that we're in. Hi, Gene.
Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry, I realized I wasn't muted and I sneezed. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Your sneeze was on point. I think it was confirming what I was saying. So
Lloyd Austin with the wanted to go back to Lloyd Austin's meeting, where they talked about this. By the way, Sandman also is a character, a group within the movie Logan's Run that takes out runners that running away from the the structure of how things are supposed to run there. It's called a Sandman. That's an interesting tie.
Ah.
And then
Sandman is also a baddie character for Spider-Man.
And then the next BRICS summit is October 22nd. Looked it up while you were talking.
Is it? Okay. So look at that.
I've been trying to look up the current number. It's hard to find things anymore on the internet. I think, what they say the number of countries in BRICS is 10, but it's actually 27 I know of that are actually in BRICS. They may not actually put out that they're in BRICS, but there are 27 formally in BRICS, but they may not actually be in BRICS by, acknowledgement.
Huh. So October 22nd comes to 245. That comes to the pure love of Christ. It comes to my full name, Thomas Sidney Bushnell, but it also comes to currency revaluation. Don't know. Who knows? I think level playing field 176 November the 5th is a good shot, but who knows? Maybe this is preparatory for it. And October 22nd with BRICS, I didn't know that, but BRICS is also 51, which is Batman Jasara. What day of the week is October 22nd? Is that a Tuesday? Let's have a look. What is it? Yeah, it's a Tuesday. I thought it was. Lots of important things seem to happen on a Tuesday, next shot Friday, and then probably Saturday, sometimes Thursday. But yeah, usually really important things seem to happen on a Tuesday and on a Friday. And Tuesday is 95, the shot 340, drop the 0. That's 34, which is DJT, which is Leap, which is Grace, which is Neo. Does anything significant in the numbers 9.58 come up on your radar, Gene, with anything?
I'm not good with the numbers like you are. I don't use them the same way. I use them in mathematical ways, so like beta compression or, numbers like 3.141596, etc., pi. Or phi, and those kind of numbers, and various constants like the gravitational constant, things like that, in physics. Or in physics, I don't know of any tie-in for 9.58. It seems like there's something way back in my brain somewhere, but it's way back in there. So,
Yeah, there's definitely something there. And the other thing as well with Usain Bolt is his gold medal tally used to be 9 gold medals, but then they disqualified the Jamaican relay team for one of the years, so he lost the medal, so it went down to 8 gold medals. But if you do 9 plus 8, that's 17, which is Q. Diana's funeral service was at 9:08. 9:08 is Romanov, 9:08 is Independence, 9:08 is Mission. And the other thing with Usain Bolt and President Trump, so Usain Bolt is Jamaican, and Jamaica is 38, which is change, which is gold. But President Trump was born in Queens, New York, but he was born in Jamaica Hospital. And Jamaica Hospital is 138, which is Donald Trump 138, revaluation 138. So there's something there. There's something in this game of the Matrix in the movie that ties those numbers with Usain Bolt and President Trump, the revaluation, this whole thing with this nuclear kind of crescendo that we're inevitably heading to, and whether it's real or dimensional or whatever it will be or not, we'll find out. But don't fret, everybody, I think everyone's going to be fine. But there's something to do with it, and they highlighted it on that Q video, the second Abraham Accord video, 17 minutes long to the second, and then the guy don't even know his name. President Trump just points to him, and he steps out and goes, Iran, and it's on 9.58 seconds, and he's talking about Iran or Iran, and Iran is 64, movie 64, Tenet 64, Jubilee 64, Usain 64, but he ran it the 100-meter world record 9.58 seconds, and that guy in the Abraham Accords pops out and says he says Iran, which is 42, which is war, which is new. They say 42. Number 42, that's the other thing. Number 42, the whole thing with Enter Sandman. That's what President Trump did on the other video. You know, the guy's saying number 42, number 42, and it's this guy, the baseball player Mario Rivera, that plays with the number 42 on his back of his shirt. And Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy say that number 42 is the you know, maybe the key to the universe, and or something to that effect. But you know, the answer to the universe. And I've been led to believe that 42 degrees is the angle of the pyramids, and the pyramid is 119, which is Nikola Tesla. 119, Redemption 119, Mary Magdalene 119, the pyramids 138, Donald Trump, Jamaica Hospital 138, revaluation 1, and all these things seem to kind of all connect in this wonderful cosmic soup. And Abraham Accords is 107 in numbers, which is Trump's, which is atonement, which is quantum, which is military, which is currency, which is eternal life, which is Superman. Superman, in the first film, when he rescues Lois Lane, he circles the earth, I think, 7 times, spins it backwards, and is able to change time. And people that are Christian in their belief nature obviously know about the atonement of Christ. Atonement is 107 in numbers. Could it be that the atonement is actually quantum? And that's how things change. And that's what we're led to believe in the movies like Back to the Future and all these other things. And I don't know, I think this nuclear element, the nuclear or nuclear magic, is also 107, which is quantum, which is atonement. I think somehow this thing that we're getting pushed towards, Gene, is inevitable. But I do believe in the glorious outcome on the other side, and it'll be interesting to see what it is and how, you know, how far it gets pushed. I guess only time will tell, but I've got a few feelings on it. But yeah, there's all of these things seem to interconnect. You know, why did the White Hats choose 9.58 for that guy to say Iran? They did it deliberately for a reason. You know, I wanted to ask you, when you said, because we're talking about the shooter, and you said it was alliance, so they let it happen. I felt that. Are there other components? Because I feel that Space Force is alliance. Are there any other branches or groups that are part of alliance that we can add more to the description of alliance, or is it just alliance?
Say again?
When you were talking about alliance, you said that the alliance, if I heard you correctly, that the alliance let those events happen. They knew it was going to happen, but they had to trust everything. Are you talking about that they were able to see that in advance and you know, through?
Well, they have cube.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And they also have the looking glass, and then they are also
looking glass. Yeah.
Infiltrators. With both sides have infiltrators. The alliance doesn't have them all the way to the top in their group from the Black Hats. The Black Hats have them now all the way to the top in the alliance. People in the alliance. So if you they knew this, so they took over the op so that they could control it. They had everything set up. So you have like triple agents, you know, where the alliance thinks that they're infiltrated in the Cabal thinks they're infiltrated in the alliance. The alliance has actually turned them again. You know, you have double triples. It gets crazy. Yeah. And even more sometimes. So, you know, going back to the pyramid angles, you have a slope on the edge of 42 degrees, 51.183 degrees on the pyramid's face slope angle, which is 51 degrees, 50 minutes if you go straight into degrees and minutes. Then for the BRICS countries, I finally found it. Actually, it was I can't find it online. It's a BFS person that assembled it for me, so I just looked at his email. So there are 10 countries recognized. Argentina is supposed to be recognized, but Javier Milei, however you pronounce his last name.
Leather jacket.
Old somewhere. So now, are they in or out? They out. So the recognized countries are Brazil, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Iran, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and United Arab Emirates. So the original ones, you know, where you got BRICS was Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So Maybe I'm confusing. Is it Argentina or is it Brazil? Javier Milei is Brazil. Is that Brazil?
Oh, I think no, that's Bolsonaro. So Javier, I think is whatever his name, the Robin Williams kind of lookalike leather jacket guy is the Argentinian guy. Bolsonaro is the Brazil guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. When you said about Looking Glass, so that's 141, which comes to 9.58. So you do 9. Point is 74 in numbers, and then 58. So 9.58 equates to 141 Looking Glass. Yeah.
So it's Javier Milei, Argentina. You're correct. So then 26 countries have applied. That's officially recognized for October 22nd. They'll likely go in, which will bring it to 32. So that's Afghanistan, Algeria, Bangladesh, and that's now questionable due to the recent military coup, a color revolution sponsored by the CIA of students that rebelled to overthrow the duly elected president, who had to get on a helicopter and get the heck out of Bangladesh, out in the jungle there somewhere in Bangladesh. There's pictures of that out. So the color revolution has gone down in Bangladesh, and that's Black Hat. That's the cabal, CIA. That. And then, of course, the situation with the elections in Venezuela, Maduro's the duly elected. He did win, and the lady that's represented by the guy, it's freaking a movie, I'll tell you. She is actually, that's CIA. Then you have, again, Afghanistan, Algeria, Bangladesh, Bahrain, which massive oil, Belarus, of course, I'm surprised they weren't in from the get-go. Bolivia and Belarus, that was they officially joined with Russia against Ukraine because they tried to a color revolution, him too, and the head of Belarus. Bolivia, Cuba, and that's what I said, a little tiny country like Cuba, where are they going to get the gold? Not that they need a lot, they're small, but still. Ecuador, Honduras, Indonesia, now you're talking a huge country. That's a lot of gold they'll need. Kazakhstan, Kuwait, again, massive amount of oil, gold, diamonds, uranium, oh my goodness, Mongolia, Nicaragua. Mongolia's huge, and that's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things about Mongolia. Nigeria, Pakistan, again, that's a nuclear power. Palestine, Senegal, Sri Lanka, and there's been tons of ongoing war and color revolution attempts in Sri Lanka, and it's back and forth like crazy. Sudan, Thailand, Turkey, and Turkey just said, well, you're never going to let two countries into NATO in a snap of a finger. We've been waiting 20 years. Well, yeah, that's a gift to you, Erdogan. You see what Hungary is going through? They're freaking cutting off their oil at all kinds. I mean, they're right now supposed to be in charge of they're cutting them off and doing all kinds of not going to their meetings and all this. It's like,
what are they doing? I've missed that one. I'm sorry, Gene. What are they doing? What are they doing to Hungary?
In Hungary, they cut off the Russian oil. They're supposed to have a special thing where they could get oil. Also with, I think it's Czech Republic. And then they've also, the country
that would have been a pipe, yeah? That would have been a pipe that they've cut off.
Yeah, the country that's in charge of running NATO right now is Hungary. Orban. And they hate Orban because he is friendly with Putin. And so, you can see the misery of being, and they're freezing assets and all kinds of things against Orban and Hungary and persons, oligarchs in Hungary. So it's not a good thing to be in NATO. So, you dodged a bullet, Turkey. So Erdogan, just go ahead and go into BRICS. And then you have Uruguay, Uzbekistan, Venezuela, and Vietnam. In Vietnam, they've discovered some very high-end tech in deep, massive, some of the biggest caves ever found on Earth since the Vietnam War. Then there's 13 candidate countries, which is Azerbaijan, Cameroon, Chile, Costa Rica, Congo, El Salvador, Guatemala, Kenya, Panama, Peru, Tanzania, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. So that would bring the total to 50 countries. Operation Sandman is, they get to 100. But the countries, there's more countries that have showed interest, which is Brunei, Cambodia, Germany. That's really interesting. They're going behind the backs of people because they've gone behind their backs and blew up their pipelines and all kinds of stuff. Ghana, Iraq, Laos, Malaysia, and Iraq is hugely important with the dinar. And then Myanmar, North Korea, Philippines, and that's really interesting too with the amount of gold still in the Philippines after all that they've taken.
Yeah.
Singapore, Syria.
Any has Zimbabwe put their hat in the ring?
Tunisia, United Kingdom. Yeah,
okay.
You put that in the ring. Zimbabwe behind the scenes, and 10 states, including Texas, in the United States, want to be federal states, become their own country, and go into BRICS. So that's behind the scenes for people, let you know. So this is it's just fascinating to watch all of this go on. It's just, the movie never ends. I mean, it's just, the most bizarre movie you could have possibly imagined. Is so complicated to know what the heck is going on. You never know.
It's brilliant. So so the Operation Sandman is gonna happen, isn't it? Because President Trump's alluded to it. It's in Back to the Future. He's done it at the White House, and as they're all joining and they get to the 100 and beyond, that will cause hyperinflation. And all these gold reserves that we were talking about, you've spoken about many times, but we were talking about again off camera. It's like, well, how do you get gold into the economy in a kind of natural, efficient way? It's like, well, there's hyperinflation, and then, guess what? Everything's good, but we'll honor it, and it's all gold backed. I felt for a long time that's a beautiful, elegant way just to get the money into the system. If you have super hyperinflation, they're going to sell off the dollar and.
Yeah, you collapse the fiat currencies.
Yeah.
Then as they go down, you switch them over to gold backed. So
exactly.
we already was moved into the Treasury, and Trump's the head of all of that. So they're moving behind the scenes very rapidly. Things are coming down. For me, it's the Sandman, like in Logan's Run, and they're being run down by the Sandman. All of these oligarchs that are the cabal ones are being run down. So,
I'll need to watch Logan's Run, and I don't know. That's one I'm not aware of. I'll need to watch that.
Very, very old movie, but a very, very good movie. And then you are looking at, what's going on behind the scenes that compared to what we see the mainstream media. Pretty much, if people don't know this by now, if you're seeing it in the mainstream media, take the opposite to be true, okay? Whatever they're telling you is not true. So if they're saying Maduro isn't supposed to be, he is. If they're saying this lady this guy who's backing this lady is, then she's the one they want to color revolution in there. And she didn't win, okay? So people keep saying this. It's like, oh my goodness, at what point do you realize the mainstream media is owned by them across the entire earth, except in Russia? That's it. And in China, their media is owned by the state. But other than that, that's because the Russians, after the Soviet Union fell, what's the first thing they did? They threw the bankers out. Same thing happened in Myanmar. They threw the bankers out. And who are the bankers? Who did Christ come up against? The money lenders. And the same people with the Sanhedrin, the Khazarian Mafia, it's all the same thing. So we see this going on. What's going on in Israel, with them trying to do this preemptive strike is massive. This is really extremely dangerous because if you've got to realize they're a connection to BRICS and Russia backs them completely. And they're also saying the same thing about Hezbollah. Okay? So if you...
Say that part again, Gene, please. Russia backs who?
Is Iran and Hezbollah, which is, the people that are really
Yeah.
running the, yeah, you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
anyway, you're talking involving the entire Muslim world will align and come in against Israel. I don't think there'll be a two-state solution because Israel is doomed. They're doomed. Netanyahu's nothing but a war criminal and a genocide and a Satanist. You know, it has nothing to do with me being anti-Semitic. By the way, the Khazarians, who are the Zionists from the star system Sion, are not Semitic. They made that word up. It's not even real, okay? They're not Hebrew is the correct word, not Jewish. That's also when they left Judea, okay? That's not what they are. If you want to go to what they are, they're the children of Abraham. They're the Dru's bloodline from Christ, okay? They protect the bloodline of Christ on one side. Those are the people in Palestine and Lebanon, Hezbollah. And Iran is where the bloodline of Christ came out of, in the Fertile Crescent. The Garden of Eden was where the rivers from Iran, Iraq, go into the sea, very close to the sea. There's 4, it looks like it's actually 3, but the Tigris and 2 other rivers all come together right before they enter the sea there. And there's an area where it looks like you're surrounded by 4 rivers, a very small area. That was the Garden of Eden. That's where it was. And so from there, humanity was taken there. And they created the cabal, the Zionists, the Zion, that created, through the Rothschild crime family, created, the Israeli state, Israel, ISIS, Ra, and El. Okay? Be careful of the words and know what you're looking at here. So when you're looking, there's certain things that have been mistranslated on purpose, especially in the King James. Because King James, first of all, was a man that took young boys, and they didn't live 10 years. He molested them sexually to the point, violently, till the point they died. They didn't last 10 years. He has no agenda, and he is in the Cabal bloodline. He is the main part of the Cabal bloodline. He has no agenda, and he's going to have the Bible from Greek and Aramaic translated with all these and thous and all of this, and there's massive change. So, if you look at mistranslating a word here and there, you can utterly change the meanings of things. So it's not the one I recommend. There are many. There's many people who have done an evaluation of the best Bibles. One person is actually a person I still am friendly with from where I originally started. I want to tell him thank you. He still helps me a little bit now and then. To Rick. He has an evaluation of the best Bibles, and I will go with what he said. So if you want to have an evaluation of the best Bibles, contact Rick from Blessed to Teach. He's still a good man. It's just he and I don't see eye to eye on certain things like reincarnation. He can't go there. And it got to the point where he can't go where I am, I can't go where he is. So we separated ways, and now we're respectful and kind to each other, and I feel he's still a good man. We just can't work directly together because we have some things that are pretty much key points. For me, reincarnation is not something I believe in. I've actually absolutely know it for sure. I've gone all over the world and found things I knew were there from other lifetimes, just like Pat, where in the movie you can even see he went out into the desert. This is where it happened. This is where it happened. So he's talking, I was here. And he knew, and he could describe the battles. I know these same kind of things all over the world. So, if you want to find...
You're pro reincarnation, but he's not. Is that right?
Yes. And for him, that's a key item. For me, it's a key item too. Because for me, God is infinitely patient and infinitely kind and infinitely considerate and infinitely loving and infinitely giving. You don't just get one round here, one shot. What if you're a child born in a dome, attached to the mother, raped to death while you're still attached?
Exactly.
You never know how to speak yet. You never heard the name Jesus Christ, and you're dead. Yeah. That's it. That's your chance to come to Christ.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
If people ask, why did God create evil? God did not create evil. He gave us the freedom of choice. We choose. People have chose. It's a choice. The cabal thinks you can own something. Like the Native Americans said, you can't own something you didn't create. So the only thing you're given ownership over is yourself. You have the ability to choose, and you have the one thing you really can control, and it's the only thing you can really control, is whether you're good or you're evil. That's it, nothing else. So evil came about by choice. And so these beings that are choosing to do these things, it's not our job to sit there and say specifically individuals most of the time, unless you're talking on worldwide genocides and things like that, not to call out fellow truthers or your neighbors or your friends. You can say that what they've done, you can verify what they've done. If you can prove, and they're involved with things that are illegal and destroying, like with the cabal and the money changers, we can prove it. We can prove they took billions of dollars in gold from Fort Knox. That's easy to prove. We can prove that they were using children in hunting parties, the Rothschilds, with their hunting compounds. We can prove those things. We can prove that George Bush was in the Dealey Plaza area when Kennedy was shot. These things are crimes, okay, against what we can prove what they're doing there, why they're there, etc. That was, a lot of that information was backed up. That happened to be in Tower 7 that came down, along with the gold underneath Tower 7 that they showed in the movie. They always tell you what they're going to do beforehand. It's part of the law of God.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something, you have to tell the persons you're going to do it before you do it. And if it's bad and somebody tells me beforehand, here's this, or I see a movie, here's this, and then it happens, you're a Satanist. You're saying something terrible you're going to do before it happens. You know the laws of God, and you're putting it out there, and you think you're clear from the karmic backlash. You cannot be clear from it. It's not possible, because everything we do, every individual does, you're a magnetic being. You have an energy field, and that energy goes like any magnet. Put a magnet under a table, sprinkle it with iron filings. The energy goes out, comes back into the bottom, out the top, into the bottom. So everything you think, see, do, feel, whatever, and that you contemplate on, you think on, you have feelings about, you say, you do, goes out from you, and it pushes everything identical. It's not the law of attraction, it's the law of repulsion. It pushes everything identical in front of it, and it always comes back to where it came from. If you think you can't and you refuse to be responsible for it, all you're doing is, like in a circuit, putting in resistors and increasing the time it takes to come back. You're changing the RC, resistors and capacitors. You're changing the RC time constant. That's all you're doing. You're changing the time it takes, like defaulting on a credit card. Yeah, you can do that for a while, like the U.S. debt. You can do that a while, but of course that's fake. But you can default for a while, but sooner or later you get repossessed. In this case, you get repossessed by God. He recycles you. So you can outrun it, but you cannot hide from God. Sooner or later, God's going to hunt you down. I don't care where you hide. You can hide in your bunkers, as Johnny Cash had. Sooner or later, the liar, the backstabber, the rambler, the gambler, etc. Sooner or later, God's going to bring you down. He's going to hunt you down. You can hide in your bunker. You can hide anywhere you want. You can't hide from God. So that's the time we're in. We're at the time of the separation of the wheat from the chaff. And the reason it's being separated is those that are trying their best to be good and help the world and help each other and be kind and considerate and respectful, do daily acts of kindness. That builds up the density of being kind. Little tiny acts are the big things, where you do something kind, you say something kind, you help somebody some way, you go a little bit out of your way. You're running close to your time that somebody can't get open. They're old and they're holding their brochures. They have to put them on the floor. It's hard for them to bend over, so you open the door. And you're in a hurry. Minutes matter for you, but you go ahead and do it anyway because they need that. That helps them immensely when it inconveniences you for 15 seconds. And instead of cutting right in front of the car in front of you, making them have to brake, you get in front where they don't have to brake. It's most all the time there's a way to do that. So you're thinking of the other person. And that then creates a wave of energy coming back to you. And that wave of gratitude and that wave of not making people upset, instead of making, oh, well, that was considerate. The person let me on the highway. That's rare these days. Or let me off the highway. It's like, it's getting ridiculous. You can't even get off, you know. So those little acts of kindness go in and they increase the density. And choosing to do kind things and say kind things and be respectful. And if somebody wrongs you, you just and you're no longer with them. You just let it go, and you don't sit there and go after them and do all these things. Well, that builds up the kindness, and that energy goes out, comes back to you, and that increases the density of gratitude, of kindness, of love within you. And that eventually doubles your frequency. It vibrates you harder and harder. You get more and more dense with the vibrations until you jump octaves. That's called positive ascension. You go from 3D positive to 4D. Then to 5D, you're doubling your frequency of compassion. The other thing is possible too. You can be mean and evil and vengeful and go after people and say things and do things and make all kinds of nasty movies and everything else, you know. And if you're not absolutely sure you're right, and you're bending and twisting and lying and working with people that have denied God and Christ and Satanists and knowing this, and these are the people you're surrounding yourself, instead of surrounding yourself with good people and kind people. That also adds to your vibration, positive and negative. Good, nice people like you, Tom, and me, that are trying to be nice to each other and nice to other people, and Rick that sent some information to me, and still a nice guy. You know, these are the kind of things that increase you positively. But it's a choice. Then the other people that want to be mean and nasty, it's increasing their energy too, of that kind of energy. Vengeance, hate, anger, mean, frustration. Vengeance is only for God. Vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord God. So in that, you're increasing your negative vibration density. You're actually not ascending, you're descending. It's not ascension, it's descension. You go from positive 3D to negative 3D, or even 2D. And then you can also go to negative 4D, negative 5D. That's it. You can't go beyond that because you destroyed the heart chakra. It's filled with hate. It literally becomes filled with the bad black goo, and it hooks you to the internet. And then you're under the control of the dark systems of the AI. And that's how that works. It's just the way it is. What you sow, not maybe you will reap. You will absolutely reap. You cannot outrun the hand of God. So thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate everything. Thank you for everything and having me back. And God bless and Godspeed to everyone out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. God bless you. Day of Vengeance is 127 November 5th, and positive is 115, which is 11/5 November 5th. I wonder if we're going to see the wheat and the tares. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Shane. God bless you. And where can people find? I'll put your links. Where can people find you?
Yeah, my main thing is to find me is 3 places. I have a website that has a lot of stuff on the free side, like in a submarine. When you're on the surface, you can be seen easily and freely. So that's the surface area. The deep dives is when a submarine dives, you can't see them. So that's behind a paywall. That's genedecode.org. Then I have a drive-through on my Rumble. People were not knowing how to get in there and use it. So I put a drive-through and explaining how to get into the website, what's in the website kind of show. It's now a little video on my Rumble, which is Real Gene Decode. That's my Rumble and my Telegram. So those are the primary 3 areas.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gene. Everyone listening, get on Gene's Yellow Submarine. Get on that. Get on the deep dive.
Black or green underneath with the primer.
Well, yellow's 92 numbers, so I was like, good, Yellow Submarine. Get on Gene's Yellow. That will create an image in people's minds, and they'll get on your Yellow Submarine. So yeah, thank you,
Thanks
Gene.
for everything, Tom. God bless you, sir.
You too. You take care. Thanks, Gene. Take care. Bye bye.